Welcome to All Mixed Up. Chad Reynolds. What's up, brother?
Just these dogs, man.
I know. I just brought mine in. I've been roading mine a bunch, getting them kind of rock hard for the season. Mm-hmm. And it's been fun. You know, it puts the miles on them. But, you know, they got on a rabbit today and they took it off into the dune country for like almost 800 yards. So I just parked my buggy and just let them do their thing. It took them it took them a while to get back to me, but they did. You know, I think it's important to let them go out into the dune country, lose the rabbit, because they're not going to catch it in that dune stuff. Mm-hmm. Figure out that they lost it, give up, and return, you know? And I have the time, the space to safely let dogs do that where I live. Mm-hmm. So it's still kind of weird to know that those A200s, I'm sorry, that Alpha 200 has changed everything in my life. Oh. I, for years, never ran those GPS collars. Dude, I can't even imagine my life without them now. Like,
you zip tie the antenna down. That's like with the Sighthounds. That's the only thing that I've always thought, because it like gets whipping, you know, like crazy. I've been taking a zip tie out and zip tying it to the collar around a little bit, because they don't get out 10 miles. You know, you need it tall and brown.
Yeah, that's true. 800 yards was shockingly far in the dune country.
Oh yeah, that's a long way. You know.
Now here's my question. It doesn't mess with that. Like range when you zip tie it down like that, tight to the collar?
It will, but I mean, you're in the best environment.
Yeah.
Most range, you know, like I forget what Garmin brags on. I think it's like 7.5 or something.
It was like 8 miles. Yeah. It was like 8 miles for the TT Mini, which is what I'm running.
You know, so that's under ideal. So half it. You would probably limit yourself by zip tying it down, but worst case scenario, it'll cut you in half, which is, you know, 4 miles, you know, so you're still good.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're always close. I'm in the buggy too, so if worst case, if someone got in trouble, I could rip out there and find them through the dunes. But
the bonus is
it's crazy.
Question mark too, so you know where you lost them. So if you just all but over there, you're good to go. It's not like a beep beep.
I can literally track them in the sand too, which is nice.
yeah, you can.
So and you know, I just think about that kind of stuff. It's been great. I need to. You know, this is something that I think needs to be said too, as far as, you know, like exercise physiology goes. To my people out here that are, you know, big exercise junkies themselves. I used to be super duper hardcore into like weightlifting and stuff. Rest days are super important too. You know, so I started my pack up. I started running them. I'm putting about 5 miles a day on the road. And that's not just roading. That's them galloping out in the desert and hauling ass after things and whatever.
Right.
But I'm going to give them days off as well, sprinkled into those days of exercise to ease them into that, because I'm also hunting them too. Mm-hmm. So I think guys remember that it's important to let those dogs rest. And my dogs come in the home and they have a very set schedule. I'm a creature of habit and I exercise them every day. So it's kind of frustrating when you don't exercise them. They get really stir crazy and run around and be annoying.
Why is this different? Why are we not doing what we do?
Yes, exactly. But I just let them simmer down. I put them outside and just let them calm down, because I need them to rest. I'm going to take them out on Saturday and they need to let their soreness go away. I know they're a little stiffer than normal. So anyway, that's my spiel. I love getting dogs in shape. It's all about that extreme performance. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's right. Yeah, you know, did toughen up the pads, you know, getting them to step out a little more, limber up, you know, and tear the muscles apart and let them build back up stronger. Yeah, we all geek out to it. I know I do.
I really take pride in keeping my dogs fit year round, but you know, obviously they're going to get way harder hunting, you know, so I just kind of wanted to get a little pep in their step. Like you said, limber them up a little bit, but they're looking good, man. I already got one up so far this season, and I put the hammer down on him. Well, I didn't. They did.
Well, you're right there next to him, though, so.
Yeah, that was cool. That always is cool. But anyway, you've been up to a lot of cool stuff too, man. Tell me about your trials, brother. Tell everyone about what you've been up to. You have a more interesting life than me. I'm just a weird nerd.
Oh gosh, we both are, man. But the drop trials was a blast. That was a lot of fun. It was my first time I went. Like, I've done the entry level test, as it's called, VJP, you know, and then I was getting ready for the HCP, and tragically my dog got hit by a by vehicle the last time. So I didn't actually get to do it, but I trained for it. Then this year I did, got another one and did the VJP and got ready for the next test, the HCP. And we, that's where they have the arm booster. So it's kind of like a Jodhar Super Bowl, for that second test, that second breed test that they need to pass in order to, be considered an actual Jodhar. And you could either just do the regular HCP or you could do the arm booster. The arm booster is the exact same thing. It's just they pull in all the best dogs from across the nation, and you have to, even to be allowed to go, you have to pre-qualify at like the first test, and then have a confirmation pre-qualifier, and then like your water entry pre-qualifier, and all these. Send your dog has to have like an OFA X-ray done, and it's even like just like an hips, OFA, right? Just hips and shoulders, and then they even have, you can do the elbows too, but you have to do the hips and shoulders, and they get done, and it's a little more strict than OFA, and then they get sent off to Germany. They approve it, all this stuff to even go, so on top of getting the pre-qualifying test of the first one. So just going is an honor. And I was super pumped to go, having never even done the second test, and got there, and man, we trained so hard, we got ready for it. And, a lot of these people have the clubs, and I didn't, but I had a lot of guidance. I had a guy I could talk to and ask a bunch of questions for. So it's not like I went in blind. I definitely don't want to paint that picture, but some of these people have like weekly clubs. They meet at like 3 or 4 times a week and do these routines and just get them really good at it, and a little Chad out in the middle of nowhere, and again, I had some expert opinions, like go to John Davis from Red Rock Jodhars, like, he held my hand a lot of the way. And, but anyway, so we went there, and I was feeling really good about it, and, we did great. We did really, really, really well. There was one issue, during the rabbit track. It's actually a drag at this stage. I think it's like 900 feet, with like some turns and everything in it. And if going into it, I thought that was the one thing I knew we'd be good at, I knew we'd be good at everything else, but I was like, I don't even have to worry about that. We got that perfect every time. That's like our best thing. And that was the only thing he messed up on, man. And to the top levels, everybody in the top, to me, if I didn't get there, I didn't get to the top 10. I ended up placing 16th, but the top 10, to even get in there, the competition's so tight. It's like a half a point. And then like if 2 dogs are the exact same on everything, and then one's a little younger, that one gets, that one would go in place of the other one. So, I mean, all the competition between the top 10 is like back to back. And super close. I don't know. Yeah, it's super close. And then I don't know how far up I was, but I was kind of a contender for it. And then that rabbit track came down and knocked me out, man. Like I said, the competition's so tight. If you do one thing messed up, you're like, whoa, all the way out and back down. So like, some people like to get upset, like, no, my dog would have done, but no, he got what he deserved, man. He just didn't show up that day for that, and then they actually just right afterwards, they do a duck track just to prove that your dog likes to track fur and likes to track feather as well. They can wind and point and do all these other things, but they have to be able to track it as well. It's something super important to them. And it's just a little bit shorter. Instead of being a 900, it's 600. And he flawless. Wow. Absolutely. Flawless. So it's just the rabbit.
Right.
He got mixed up and fell off the track a little bit and ultimately got there. He completed the thing. He just wasn't as fast as the other ones that day.
I see.
But aside from that, it was a blast getting to see it was like, gosh, there's a lot of incredible handling.
I bet.
And some of
Did you meet some cool people?
Oh yeah. Met a ton of great people, and I actually hope to talk to them at some point, kind of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. All mixed up.
Yeah. There you go. There's some really, really neat people there. And one of the coolest things that I got to see was like this duck search where there's a duck in the water, and you release the dog, and they can track well, and this can happen, but like it's another thing to actually see a dog track on the water. Like they will come across the water right where the duck went, and you'll hear them like just huffing as hard as they can, and then the duck will come up there to that little reed, and then it'll make a hard left turn and then go like 50 yards across the water. And if you
is amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. I can say it right now, and you're still not going to get the picture until you see it, where the dog's literally making the turn. And I kind of was seeing it coming in training because my dog loved to track. That's something I like to do. I like to work on tracking. So I hammered on it probably harder than some of the other things. And in the beginning, when I was introducing the water track, he would actually fall off of it, and then like circle around until he got back on the duck track. And when he would hit it, he would dunk his head underwater, trying to get closer to it.
He's here. He's here.
Yeah. Well, he was trying to like source it better, and he'd come up gagging and throwing up water and then go back on track. But anyway, it was really neat. He went across the water and got to track it. And, we saw the duck go into the bushes. So he didn't even get to see it, so he just blind tracked, went in there and then went in the bushes and was in there for like 5 minutes, just working around. You hear all these cattails snapping and busting. And then all of a sudden, whack, 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 and the duck came flying out. Well, not flying, but flapping his wings out, and came out of the cattails in a certain area, made a hard right turn, went down the cattails and went back in. And just like 45 seconds later, here comes Griff out of the cattails, past the track, was like, turned back around, got back on it, went down the cattails, past that turn, turned back around, went in the bushes. And then like about 30 seconds later, it flew out again and went like, flew maybe like 60 feet and then landed. And then went into another set of bushes, and here he comes out of the cattails, tracking him across the water. It was so cool. It was.
I wish everyone could see Chad. Chad, you and I are very similar creatures. You're pumped right now. I love it, dude. That's how I get with a rabbit race.
Yeah. It's just so cool getting to see the wheels turn. The evaluation process on a level playing field. That's I geek out to all the different stuff. But like now, this test system is kind of cool. What were you gonna say?
Yeah. Oh no! I've been thinking about what you said. In the last, you guys, if you remember the Steak and Shake Point Blank, there was a lot of gems in that episode. There really was.
Priceless.
But one thing that you said that I can't stop thinking about is, as you're talking about your draught doing all this stuff, I cannot stop thinking about how if you had to train a Saluki to do this stuff.
Yeah, it's different.
You were like, you can't train a sight hound to do anything he wasn't already gonna do. And I was like, that is so good. I love that.
They talk about master trainer. I think for Salukis that you're a master facilitator. You could bring out what they're gonna do already. But I mean, you could stomp all over it and get in the way. So it's not, just hands in the air. You could mess it up.
Of course. I mean, you're still training them,
100%, but it's like stuff that they do instinctively. But if they weren't going to do it already, you're not going to do it. It's not going to happen.
I was talking to my good friend, and he was talking about how he once saw a jack run into a stock tank and swim, and the greyhounds just went straight in. And he said they swim fast. He was like, dude, a jackrabbit can swim like a beast. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. And he said the greyhounds too, he's like, they'll outswim any dog. He's like, they run fast. He's like, they swim super fast too. And I was blown away. And Josh Michaelis, host of The Truth, he talked about how the greyhound coonhound crosses in those water races destroy the competition. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. I mean, I really can't think of a better canine athlete than a greyhound. I mean, they're just insane.
They really are. They're incredible. I've never seen like a desert hare do it. Like we have stuff back in the South called cane cutters or swamp rabbits, we call them. That was like one of the go-to things. They would jump in the water. Like they lived around the water, and they're much larger than cottontails.
Crazy. I've seen one. Yeah, they're huge, man.
They really are. Tiny ears, big. They even sound different. Their voice in distress, because you hear it a lot with falconry, is how I come in contact with it.
Oh, right, right.
The raptor grabs a hold of a cottontail, it sounds a certain way, and then when it grabs a hold of the cane cutters, they have different vocal cords. Same as the jackrabbit. It's different.
So, where did the name cane cutter come from?
I'm gonna go out on a limb. Don't quote me on this one. But a lot of the places we would hunt them in the South had like cane switch, like this little type, kind of like a bamboo type, and they go zipping through it. They have their trails. That's the cool part. They're fast. They're stinking fast, and they make a wider loop, a much wider loop than like a cottontail. So I can only assume, I'm guessing, don't hold it against me if I'm getting it wrong, guys, but just they're flying these little trails.
It's just a guess.
Yeah, but that's what I have to say. Just running really fast through cane switch and stuff like that. But yeah,
gotcha.
They're cool.
Yeah. Okay. So then here's my second thing. When you were imitating the duck, I wasn't sure. What was that sound again? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
What did I do? I can't even recall.
When the duck came out of the reeds, you were like, and it just made me laugh.
Yeah.
No, that's how I tell
anybody
You're
that's
a real storyteller, brother.
Well, I just wish you could see the hand and arm signals, all the dancing. I feel like I'm just missing.
Oh no, I can see them. The folks, they can hear it in you. I promise they can hear it. So speaking of that Steak and Shake episode, you guys, I want to say this now. We got some cool stuff coming down the pipeline in Houndsman XP. You guys need to go to the Houndsman XP Redbubble, you guys. I'm just going to say it right now. The Steak and Shake cup that was posted on the Facebook group, you can get that on Redbubble. It's going to be on water bottles, mugs, shirts, whatever you want. So if you want to go represent, caution, do not drink the Steak and Shake cup. It's there, you guys. And we're adding designs weekly to that Redbubble page. So go check it out, you guys. There's sight hound, coursing logos, coon hounds. My favorite's the little coon driving the brain. I love that, man. And I need one in the Jackrabbit.
I love the cup. I love the cup, the Steak and Shake cup. I can't wait to get mine.
We're going to have a sweet giveaway, you guys. There's Houndsman XP. We're always up to stuff. You guys know Chris. He's always traveling and being crazy out there. There's some sweet stuff coming down the Houndsman XP pipeline. You guys stay tuned. The whole crew is coming together, and it is going to be awesome. Yeah. And we're going to do the Patreon drawing live when we're all together. And we got some sweet Houndsman XP merch from the Redbubble page that we're going to be giving away live while we're all hanging out together. So you guys, there's going to be so much sweet content coming up. We're going to be hanging out with the fans, tons of fans coming. It's going to be sweet, you guys. I can't wait. So I just had to say that. This has been on my mind. I knew this would be a perfect time to tell everyone. So stay tuned, you guys. There's going to be some sweet HXP stuff coming down the pipeline. I also wanted to talk to you guys about the Patreon page quickly. We have partnered with Sportsmen's Alliance, you guys. The $12 patrons now, you can get a membership to Sportsmen's Alliance. And you get all the sweet joining benefits from Sportsman's Alliance, the knife set, and the Houndsman XP merch that you get when you join. So it's a great way to give to Houndsman XP, but also you get so much back. I mean, I'm a biologist, not a math geek, but guys, I mean, you're getting back the drawings, sweet merch and gear. So it's a way we say thanks for supporting the show, you guys. And Chad Reynolds right now rocking a brand new mic setup. Thank you, patrons. You guys, Now Chad has a soothing baritone instead of a scratchy mic.
How does it sound, everybody? I dig it. I dig it. I like it a lot.
If you were like, man, Chad Reynolds, he sounds so dreamy. Thank a patron. Thank a patron.
Thank you. And that Sportsman's Alliance thing is the real deal. I don't want to get up on a pedestal for too long, but I've been a member for 10 years, long before I started getting involved here. And they're it, man. They defend dog rights amazingly. I can't support them enough. They're always fighting for here, for there, and your money goes right to it. I mean, I like to support all my local dog clubs. Don't get me wrong. That's nice, and then but you turn around and you see somebody, they're taking a lot of the money that you put in there and it's for a scholarship or this or that, but it seems like every time you turn around, Sportsman's Alliance is like sinking their teeth into somebody trying to take our dog sports away, and it's just fantastic. So I don't know. I'll come off of it, but among all the cool shiny stuff you get, I mean, Sportsman's Alliance is awesome for dog handlers, man.
I agree. And that's the thing. They're watching nationwide and always, you know what I mean? The stuff that they see and get ahead of legally. What a great organization. So we're super pumped to partner with them. Chris works tirelessly for this podcast, and he's been a beast. So we're very happy to partner with a great organization like Sportsman's Alliance. So I just want to throw that out there, you guys. Go to the website. All this information is there, you guys. Our website is so sick. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you, Lauren. You're a total beast. I appreciate that. So infomercial over, guys. These are things I really want to tell you. I like to tell these kinds of news on the live drawings every month, but it's a good time to let everyone know what we're up to and just HXP happenings. So go to the website, you guys. All the information that I said is there. www.houndsmanxp.com. So let's roll in. We got some sweet segments this month. You have been a content animal. And so last month, I wanted to feature a lot of the stuff you've been gathering up. And you also did pretty dang good this month. And you had a really long interview, you guys. But we are going to run the coolest part. Give us a 10,000-yard view on what's coming up, Chad. Don't spoil it.
All right. Well, let's see. The Truck Terrier talk with Shawn O'Neil about these multi-purpose bred dogs, American bred, purpose bred dogs. I love the versatile German dogs, but I mean, this is kind of cool. Homegrown, used for helping to produce coyotes for either decoying or flushing them for foxhounds or scent hounds, sight hounds, that is. Just an all around, like, just ditch dog, something you have next to you, and just all the little mischief they get into. He's got a pretty cool thing going, and it's growing, and there's a lot of other people interested in it. Bruce Swanson, if you remember from our last show, not the last show, but the other show. Yeah, the mule hunter and this and that. He's got one, loves it. He comes in his house, sleeps in the house, and does all kinds of stuff. Just a neat little multi-purpose dog. So, like, I don't want to give too much away, but it's pretty cool to hear what Shawn's got going on.
And also, you guys, patrons already know, but his talk with Shawn was like 2 hours long, and we're not going to be able to run 2 hours on All Mixed Up. But go to the Patreon page, you guys. That talk is continued there. So by the time you hear this, it's already posted part 2. So there's 3 awesome segments on that episode, and 2 of them are on the Patreon page. So that's the kind of stuff we're posting out, you guys. Bonus content, behind the scenes. Also, me and Chad love to video what we're up to. I got a sweet video set up, and so Chad also has badass video of his animals doing their thing. Mine too. People are always like, Seth, I want to see video of your dogs run. It's at the Patreon page, everyone.
They're there.
So yeah, I just wanted to say that too, you guys. There's the extended version of Chad's talk. And for this month, my segment, I brought in, you guys, everyone knows I'm a dork. I love data and I love learning physiology, biology. I wanted to break down a new avenue in the Houndsman XP lexicon, if you will, of, we had the episode of Scent and the Scenting Hound. Chris had a solo episode. And I thought, well, I'm a sight guy. Why don't I break down the canine eye? And before you guys are like, oh, boring textbook talk, I promise you it's super fun. I wanted to keep it like entertaining and educational. So it's chock full of experiments that you guys can do with yourself to put yourself in a dog's eyes. So I was really excited to do that. So some of my favorite things to talk about is the unique physiology of the animals that we are always around. I mean, it's just I guess a quirk of a biologist, I suppose, but
yeah, well, that's really bring to the table for everybody, man. That science side. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I loved your talk with Shawn, and man, it just kept going. I was like, dang. So thank you for that, brother.
Yeah.
I say, do you have anything you'd like to bring up special, brother?
About
anything. This is all mixed up.
Not much. Like I said, the draught thing's going fine. I'm tuning up the sight hounds. I got this little cocker, field bred cocker that I'm having a blast with.
I saw that. Saw that. You talked about it a while ago when we first started talking. You said that little dude does somersaults when he smells a rabbit track.
It's incredible. Like I said, the best hot nosed I've ever hunted with. Now, like if it's a 10-minute-old track, they can do stuff with, but to really see what they're really cool at is like a 5-minute-old track or something like that. They'll run across it. I've seen them do a front handspring, land on their back, get up, orient, and then they're off on the track 100%. It's almost like the Scooby-Doo episodes where the feet keep going and they turn directions and they just kind of peel out and take off. They're incredible, and we've been turning her on and we're doing some baggy stuff, some training pigeon stuff. And I put one down and it got up and immediately took off. I was like, all right, that one's out of town. And we're going to start with this dog and another young pup. And the other young pup was doing pretty good. And then my little cocker kind of took off. I was like, all right, she'll do whatever she's going to do. I'm going to focus on this pup a little bit. And then the pup found what it was after. And we looked up and went to look for, I named her Jolene, after the Dolly Parton song, and there goes Jolene, 200 yards away, had found the pigeon. and was just hauling butt back to us. So she had tracked this, and she's only an 8-month-old dog. She had tracked this pigeon all the way out there, found it, caught it, and brought it back. And just total natural retrieve. They're cool. They're cool.
Nice. My question is, when you call her, do you sound like Dolly Parton yelling out Jolene?
Exactly. Nail on the head. You can't tell us.
Yes, I'm sure. And that's a voice that we never want to have a mic around when you're doing.
Negative. I do get a little high pitched when I'm praising my dog. So I've been.
Oh, of course. I sound like a little baby boy. Yeah, I'm
exactly.
like, oh, he's such a good boy. Well, let's roll right into it, you guys. Let's do this segment. This is about canine sight.
I can't wait.
Hey, everybody. Welcome in. So this segment of All Mixed Up is just going to be me. No guest this time. I really wanted to elaborate on an episode that Chris had done a while ago. It was Basics of Scent and the Scenting Hound. And I really liked that episode. He just broke down how a dog uses its nose and the biology and physiology behind how they interpret the world through scent and some common misconceptions about dogs and their sense of smell. And obviously that's really important to any hunter. It doesn't matter what you're hunting with your dogs. Dogs interpret their world through scent. So it's critical that we understand how they use their nose. But my dogs and several other types of dogs that we hunt with commonly use sight. And although they are called sight hounds, I'm going to make this right off the bat. Sight is not the most important sense for them. It still is their sense of smell. So I'm just going to make this clear to you guys. This is not going to be some boring biology read. This isn't going to be just, reading a book to you guys about how a dog's eyes work. I'm going to break this down. Physiology, biology is one of my great passions. And I talked to a professor of mine just to kind of get refreshed on these things. And I learned some cool things in my ethology class, which is the study of animal cognition and behavior. And some of those experiments on how canines use their eyes is really cool. And it's going to help you put yourself in a dog's shoes. So let's get started, you guys. I'm really excited. So before we get too far into this talk, you guys, I want to make some points clear here and kind of open up a whole new concept of thinking about other animals. Dogs use their sense of smell to interpret the world. Everything dogs do, they revolve around scent. They tell time, they know who's who, who's been where, what's going on in the world around them, where is food, where is mates, where is a safe place to call home. They do that all by their sense of smell. And humans do not. Humans primarily use vision to interpret the world around them. We gather cues from our world based on vision and then augment that with other senses. Dogs use their sense of smell to gather primary information and then augment those with hearing and sight in those orders, depending on the task. So it's really important when you're thinking about dogs that they interpret this world wildly different than we do. So I'm going to give a little thought experiment here. This one stuck with me for a long time, and it really helps you to think about animals in a different context. So in the mid-2000s, some scuba divers were swimming, and they saw a humpback whale that had been caught in fishing gear. And so they took them an hour or more to cut this whale free from the fishing gear, and instead of just immediately swimming away, the whale swam up to them and touched them with its pectoral fins before it swam away and apparently looked them in the eyes and all this stuff. Now, you guys know I'm real hesitant to anthropomorphize animals, and thought experiments like this are one of the reasons why. But those guys said that the whale was quote unquote thanking them and had a cherished moment with them. And, we know that whales are social animals, and maybe it did. I don't know. I'm not a whale. But let's put it into a different perspective. What if you're out and you see a grizzly bear caught in a barbed wire fence, and you walk up and you take out your bolt cutters and you cut that bear free from the fence, and the first thing he does after you cut him free is he turns around and he tears you apart and eats you? Does that make a bear a bad animal? Does that make him evil? Does that make him ungrateful or unthankful for your good service? And I'm going to say no. It's doing what bears do, which is eat flesh, and whales do what whales do. And so I think it's important to always remember to not contextualize animal behaviors based on how humans perceive the world. Animals don't have morality. Grizzly bears certainly don't have morality. Whales probably don't have morality. I don't know. I don't spend any time thinking or researching about whales. But I will say that it's be a careful, slippery slope to put human views on animals, even if it's as mundane as how a dog sees. It's really important to remember that the senses that animals evolved with suits their needs for their world and their modes of survival. We all have the same goal in life: live, be safe, eat, and reproduce. And every species took a wildly different way of getting that goal, and dogs did too. So it's important to know that, when you're thinking about animals, that we will actually appreciate and revel in their differences. Even if that bear comes out of the fence and kills you, we can still appreciate that what made a bear get to that point is an interesting and long story. And the limitations that dogs have, they make up for in other ways that obviously is super beneficial for us because they make awesome hunting partners. I don't really know of any humans that are running down jackrabbits, humans that are scent trailing a bear. You know what? Not even humans, any primate for that matter. So these strengths really give us, an appreciation for their differences. So I'm also going to start breaking down the mammal eye, and you're going to learn a lot of fun things about biology in that, as a mammal, the most diverse group of vertebrates ever, you're going to have these amazing differences, but yet at the same time, these really amazing similarities because, we're all mammals. So let's get going straight into the eye physiology. I think this is what's really cool. Now that you guys know that dogs don't primarily use their vision, well, how do they use their vision? And it's going to come down to primarily, what a dog's vision is used for. If it's not primarily used to interpret all things around them in the world, how do they use it? And before we get there, I'm going to just take a moment here to explain your eye. So mammal eyes are all pretty much the same. It's how they are oriented and how they are shaped that really affects how animals use them and what their structure's for. And a great way to imagine the eye is like a camera where you have your pupil that lets light in, and then you have a lens that focuses the light, and then it goes into various photoreceptors in the eyeball, nerves that take it up to the brain and process the image. And as with anything in nature, you guys, not just vision, literally every part of physiology, there's great compromises that need to be made to achieve your goal. And so there's no such thing as perfect in any regard. There's only perfect for one thing. And so animals have to make compromises in all aspects. The eye is no different. If you need to live like a dog, you have to have all of your physiologic functions of the eye to make you awesome at low light hunting. The ancestors of dogs and the way dogs still are used today, think our coon hounds or our early morning hunting dogs, low light vision is key. So the dog's eye has made tons of physiologic changes to make them better at low light vision versus a human eye that's made to be very clear, excellent color vision, all sacrificing light sensitivity. Humans have terrible night vision, and that's no surprise to any of us, but we have made great sacrifices in our light gathering ability so that we have very clear vision, and obviously we can see color. And we'll get to it, but dogs can too, just far less colors than humans can. So what makes dogs awesome low light hunters compared to humans? Let's break it down. So we're going to start with the structure of their eye. The pupil of a dog is a lot larger than a human's. If you look at a dog's eye, you'll notice that black part, that's their pupil, takes up a huge part of their eye. And so if you're using a camera, let's go back to the camera analogy here. If you're using a camera and you have a large aperture, then you're going to have awesome light gathering ability but you're going to have less focusing ability. So you're going to be able to focus on an item and other things are going to be blurry. But if you drop down that aperture, you're able to have better depth of field, but you're going to sacrifice, you need more lighting, basically. And so humans have small pupils, and that allows us to have better depth of field and clarity, but we obviously sacrifice that ability to get more light. And dogs can open their pupils humongous so that they can let in a lot of light to give that eye better ability to gather physical light from the atmosphere. And they can obviously use that and many other adaptations to see in the night better. And so another thing is everyone has shined light inside an eye of an animal and you see that glow. That thing is called a tapetum lucidum. And it's a small reflective organ in the back of dogs, deer, all kinds of vertebrates to have better light gathering capability. What happens is light enters the eye and then it hits the tapetum lucidum and is reflected back across the eye again for a second chance of being absorbed by the lens. So humans do not have that, and we lost it because we primarily operate in the daytime and have for a long time. But here's what's crazy, you guys. When that light actually goes across the tapetum lucidum and comes back over the lens again for a second pass, there's an interesting photoelectric effect that happens that actually makes the color have a weird fluorescence to it. And that shift in light corresponds perfectly to this rod cells in the eye to gather even more light. So those rod cells, which I'm going to get to in a minute, actually perceive the light better as they come across the tapetum lucidum for the second pass. So it enhances their night vision even more. And so I've heard this before from folks, and it is true. Some dogs that have blue eyes don't have an eye shine. And that is because they don't have a tapetum lucidum. And that's through selective breeding. So dogs like huskies or other bright blue-eyed dogs actually have worse night vision than their brown-eyed counterparts. So pretty crazy to think, and I guess if you're a sled dog in Alaska and it's snowing all the time, maybe the reflectance of light off the snow wouldn't be that much of a hamper to their existence. But this is most likely a cause of human selective breeding that's had unintended consequences. So that eye shine is caused by a really unique structure in the eye that most mammals have, but others do not. Javelina do not have one either, interestingly enough. I just know that because, they have terrible vision. Much worse than a dog, and I've just seen them in the headlights and never saw an eye shine. I'm not sure if feral pigs do. That's something I'd have to look into, but we're getting off into the weeds. We'll get back into dog's eyes here. So, okay, you guys, this is the most important part of this talk to me, and this is something I really wanted to talk about. When you have cells in the eye, and we're just going to keep this very simple. We're going to have a 10,000 foot view here just to keep it interesting and not get too, drilling down deep. You have rod cells and you have cone cells. And these are really important because these two cells are the photorecepting cells in the eye. And either or has an incredibly different task in the eye. And how they're situated massively impacts how the eye is used by the user. So, let's break it down. Rod cells. As you can imagine, they're rod-shaped, long and skinny. Rod cells are awesome at collecting light. That is what they are very good at. So, you can imagine that dogs probably have a lot of rod cells. Cone cells are excellent for color vision and acuity. Cone cells allow you to see very crystal clear, and they allow you to see color. There are 4 kinds of cone cells. Mammals only have 3. So creatures that have lots of cone cells in their eyes, like primates and birds, although they're not mammals, have this 3 kinds of rod cells to interpret different color spectrums. So when you look at a rainbow, humans can see Roy G. Biv, the red, orange, violet, green, indigo, whatever. Dogs only have 2 kinds of rod cells in their eyes. And so we'll get to dog color vision in a minute, but Dogs literally are colorblind on one spectrum of light. Humans are colorblind on another spectrum of light that birds can see. Birds are actually 4-chrome. They have 4 kinds of rod cells in the eye. So when you look at a blackbird, if you look carefully in the sun, you can see that iridescence on their feathers. A bird will see a blackbird wildly different than a mammal sees a blackbird, which I think is pretty cool too. Let's talk about perception shifts, right? So dogs have much more rod cells in the eye and much less cone cells in the eye. Again, rod cells are awesome for detecting movement and gathering light. Obviously, you're starting to put this into your head. This makes sense. Cones, not so important. Acuity, color vision, meh, not that important to a dog. Dogs don't look at the flowers. No, dogs are looking for fast-moving small animals in dim light. And so rod cells are king. So now that you know the difference between rod and cone cells, which is super important, next we need to realize the orientation of those cells in the eye. And this is where it gets super interesting to me. And I'm going to give you guys some fun little experiments to put yourself in a dog's shoes. So here we go. Okay. Now, I want you to look at the wall. I know this sounds crazy, but just look right at it. You're going to notice dead center in your eyes, right where you're looking, it's crystal clear. And if my friends that are listening to this have glasses on, wear them, because you need to have the clearest vision possible for this. Now, that dead center of your eye where it's really clear is called your fovea, F-O-V-E-A. The fovea is the center of the eye where the most cells are concentrated. And that is going to give the most important part of the vision of any animal. And what's going on in the fovea is going to give you a lot of clues about how animals use their vision to exist. In the human fovea, it is extremely densely packed with cones. And remember, cones are about color vision and acuity. So where you're looking should be really clear and very vibrant. But now a dog's fovea is rich in rod cells and not very many cones. Enough cones, but much more rod cells. So what does that tell you about a dog's eye? Dogs in the center of their eye are more focused about gathering light and detecting movement than having crystal clear vision. And you're like, well, how bad is a dog's vision? If they're losing acuity, what does it look like to look through a dog's eyes? I'm going to give you a really fun thought experiment here, and it's going to give you a better idea of how dogs look and how they see. Go grab a book, any book, and lay it down flat on the table in front of you. Now, I want you to take your finger and put it dead center on a page, right in front of some type. Now, you're going to notice that when you're looking at your finger, the edges of the type on the edges of the page, about an inch away from your finger, start to get kind of blurry and weird. You can still kind of make out what they say, but keep your eyes focused on that finger. And you're thinking, well, duh, Seth, I'm looking at my finger and that's why it's clear. But when you look at a human's eye, the fovea is rich in cones for that acuity, and the edges of our eyes are rich in rods compared to the fovea. So when you're seeing out of your peripheral vision is what dogs are going to see in their fovea, dead center in their eye. That kind of weird, hazy, not fully in view, but definitely not blurry. And that's something I want you to understand, is that their vision isn't blurry in the sense of like crossing your eyes and having weird blurry vision. It's just lacking acuity. So it's kind of hazy, like if you were looking through cellophane. And that is more like what their vision is like. And this is really cool to me. I love this kind of stuff, but think about this. You ever been out at night and you're just walking around and you notice that if you look off to the side at something in the dark, you can actually see it better. It's brighter if you look off to the side and look at it through your peripheral vision right off to the edge of your eye. And that is because your rod cells and your peripheral vision, primates, you're going to see better because those rods are detecting that light better. And it's really trippy. If you haven't experienced that, go out and check that out. Go into a low light, dim setting and just kind of cock your eye off slightly to the left or right. You're going to see it better. And if you notice that that section of your eye that's allowing you to see better in low light vision is actually the same part of your eye that's kind of where the blurriness begins on your finger on the paper experiment, because you're going to have some clarity around your finger right when you're looking at it, because your cones are still, it's still part of your fovea where your cones are rich. But right when it starts to get blurry, that is the part of your eye that you're going to turn away and look at with your peripheral vision at night. How cool is that? And so that part of your eye that's collecting the that's collecting the light using your rods is going to be much more concentrated dead center in the eye of a dog. So that peripheral brightness you're seeing is a teensy tiny fraction of the light that a dog needs to see clearly in these dark conditions. To put it into perspective, a dog needs about a quarter the amount of ambient light to see the same as a human would. And a cat, which is like the king of night vision, who sacrifices even more acuity for better night vision, needs 1/7 of the amount of light to see clearly. So these are just pretty cool ways that you can kind of get into the eyes of a dog. And I love this kind of stuff. So let's do another thought and physiology experiment that can help you put your eyes in dog world. Okay, so dogs are awesome at detecting movement, and they sacrifice some of that acuity for that. Here's how you can kind of see that for yourself. All my sighthound hunters, they know this is so frustrating. You're hunting, even if you're hunting out of a vehicle, whatever, even if you're on foot, you're walking along, boom, directly in front of you, there's a jackrabbit laying under a bush. It is holding like a rock, and you can see it. It is clear as day, sitting right there, 50 yards, 25 yards in front of you, whatever. And you tell your dogs, get up, look for him. And those dogs start looking. They are looking right at that jackrabbit, and they cannot see him. Why? Go back to the page, put your finger on that page, look at your finger, and notice on the edges of your vision how blurry it is, how you really struggle to make out the differences in those letters. To your dog, that jackrabbit is a rock. He doesn't have the acuity to see the rabbit. And through the experiences of your dog's life, the jackrabbit is running when he sees him. So he is looking for running game. He is using his dog eye, his dog brain, to perceive how dogs perceive the world, which is movement. But check this out, and we all know this. The second that rabbit moves, even if he moves a whisker or a nose, your dog is locked onto him, and off they go, and the race is on. So how come he couldn't see him there? We all know that acuity is suffering. But check this out. Here we go. Rods, awesome at detecting light. And because they're awesome at detecting light, they're really good at detecting movement. Take your fingers, stand up straight and tall, and hold your two fingers out in front of you, looking directly at them, at arm's length. Now, looking dead ahead where your fingers were, move your fingers off to the side, right or left of your head, until they leave your peripheral vision. Okay, now that they've stopped, you can't see them anymore. They're outside of your peripheral vision. Now wiggle them. You'll be able to see them again. And that's because your rods are detecting that movement. It's freaking crazy, isn't it? So you can't see your fingers. They're gone until you start to wiggle, and then they reappear. Same thing with your dog. Remember, the center of their eye is focused on that movement. And so they physically cannot see that rabbit. And even if they could see the rabbit, they're not going to have the clarity to interpret it as a rabbit because their camo is amazing. One way dogs can detect something that isn't moving as something they like is if they're a little closer to it where their acuity can take over, or they've built up a search image over the course of their life what this thing looks like when it's not moving, or it has a wildly different shape than objects around it that make it stand out, like a ball on a grass. And there's a lot more to that, but that's the gist of it. So they can see movement incredibly well. And what's even crazier is that the physiology of a dog's eye actually changes among the breeds. So there's been studies of sight done on beagles, greyhounds extensively, and Rottweilers as well. So it's shown that greyhounds and other sighthounds, presumably because greyhounds, have more densely concentrated rods in their visual streak, the dead center of their eye, which allows them to be clearer at longer range and see movement farther than normal dogs, which makes perfect sense because we've bred them to look for that jackrabbit darting through the grass at 75 yards and give chase. But beagles seem to have much more near vision than greyhounds. So they're actually clearer up close than greyhounds are. So greyhounds actually may be a little harder to see at close range, more blurry than a beagle. And it's just because the way their eyes have shaped, and possibly through the selection of how beagles hunt, it's more important for beagles to have clearer vision up close than it is for them to see a running jackrabbit at 100 yards. So these cool things that we've selected for form following function, their bodies have changed, but so have their eyes, it seems. And interestingly enough, just like in people, if your mom has bad vision, your dad has bad vision, you may have bad vision too. Well, it seems that bad eyesight actually can run in some breeds and in some lines within breeds, which seems to be a no-brainer, but it's worth mentioning. So you can get dogs' eyes checked with modern veterinary care. It may be something you may want to check out, especially if you're running sighthounds. So good eye is a trait that sighthound breeders are always looking for. Can he spot that coyote running way out there? Can he get that rabbit up and take him? These are important things, and you could be breeding for better vision too. So I want to get back to it, you guys. That finger experiment is something I really, really think is cool. And I think that there's a few other topics I wanted to touch on and not make this segment too long. I wanted to keep it fun and light. Get it? That's an eye joke. Okay. A really bad one, clearly. So one huge point of confusion, if you will, with dog vision, and a huge misconception about how they see. Dogs actually do see color, you guys. So we know this because dogs have rod cells in their eyes and they have cone cells in their eyes, and we use cone cells to see light. So if they have cone cells, they must be able to see light. And as I mentioned earlier, humans have 3 different kinds of cone cells that are receptive to 3 different wavelengths of light. So when you look at a rainbow, humans see Roy G. Biv, the abbreviations of all the colors, red, orange, violet, indigo, all that, green, whatever. When dogs look at the rainbow, dogs only see various shades of blue and yellow. And they only have 2 kinds of cones in their eyes. So dogs have been trained in laboratory settings to detect colors, blue and yellow, and that's how we know they can see those, backed up with the style of cones that they have in their eyes. But it's also kind of weird and fun to think about that it's actually really hard to train the dogs to differentiate colors. Dogs just don't care about color that much. It's just something that's kind of irrelevant to them. And so I really like that kind of stuff when you think about, how they interpret the world. They just don't care. Color isn't that important to what dogs need to do to survive. Let's think back again on the topics that we've already covered. Movement, super important. Is this sky blue? Is this little fruit slightly reddish? Or is it still kind of a light green color because it's not ripe? Dog doesn't care. He just smells it. Oh, it smells like it's ripe. I can smell the sugars in there. Nomp, he eats it. A human doesn't do that. We look using our color vision and we detect if the fruit is ripe based on its color. So different modes, different ways to get to the same task. And I just think that's really cool how these things that we take for granted, color, are just pretty much irrelevant to a dog. So they do see various shades of yellow, and they can kind of variate between yellowish hues and blue. They can't really see green, which, again, irrelevant to a dog, but they do see those colors. So if you want to make something that a dog can see, like a bumper toy, orange isn't really a good color for a dog. Humans can see orange really well. Our cones are super sensitive to blaze orange, which is why you can see it so far away. And those retriever dummies are orange so that you can find it if the dog can't. But a best thing to make it visible for a dog would be blue, because dogs can see blue. So, just some cool thoughts there. And those cone cells in a dog's eye are in the center of the eye, but not densely packed like their rod cells. And along that visual streak, which is that horizontal bar across the eye that we all have, they do have cones in there. So they obviously have to have some cones for their acuity, and they do have some color vision, but it's just not as rich or as vibrant or as focused as humans' color vision. So there you go. Dogs do see color, just not as good as us. But again, totally irrelevant. So this is running into 30 minutes, you guys. There's a lot more to cover, but I just kind of wanted to focus on that cool stuff that allows you to kind of think about how dogs see. And I think it's just most important to remember that vision for dogs is just kind of to not bump into things and to give them a quick glance at the world to guide their nose in a way that, doesn't have them crashing into stuff. So it's all about that nose, folks. But I hope you guys enjoyed learning about dog eyes. I could keep going on and on and on, but I do want to keep this relatively fun and short. So I look forward to seeing you guys soon, and we'll get right into our next segments of All Mixed Up. Thanks, you guys, and I'll see you around. How many times do you hound doggers catch yourself thinking about an awesome hunt you had, or retelling this great story with family and friends around the dinner table, and all you have to remember that moment is some terrible cell phone picture, or worse, no picture at all? Well, Houndsman XP is partnered with Rough Cut Company to help solve your problem and make beautiful pieces of art to remember for all time your experiences in the field. Rough Cut Company is an American-owned and American-made business in Wisconsin that specializes in custom, unique photo engravings on hardwood that are framed to any picture you want. They also do customizable antler dog chews and even beautiful, unique antler rings from their own red deer in Wisconsin. Rough Cut Company can do pretty much anything you ask. Their customer service is second to none. Give them a look at roughcutcompany.com, and when you check out, make sure you check out with HXP 10% off to get a discount on your final purchase. Check them out, you guys, and support people that support houndsmen and help keep us in the field and remembering those times forever.
Yeah, that's cool. That's some cool stuff, man. That's some really cool stuff. I'm going to share that with a lot of people. I can't wait.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really had a good time making it. I was surprised. It took a lot less takes than I thought. I thought I was going to have to be, constantly having new takes, but I kind of just put the mic on me and just let me go. So that was pretty fun. I had a great time, and I hope you guys did enjoy that. I had to call up one of my old ethology professors and kind of sit down and talk to him. So thanks, Gary.
Ethology? What is ethology?
Yeah, well, it was explained back there. You don't remember, but it's the study of it's the study of animal behavior. So, and intelligence, basically.
Gotcha.
Behavioral intelligence and sociability and stuff. So anyway, it's a really cool topic. It's kind of like a hybrid of animal sociology, I guess, and then like intelligence and behavior. So anyway, but yeah, it's a really cool topic. It's something I really like. And I just like the I always think kind of in metaphors, and I always think kind of in more cinematic terms, I suppose. But I really like the analogies that he taught us in class, especially about the one where like the whale touching those scuba divers, and they were like, "Oh, he was thanking us." And he's like, "What if a bear is trapped and you let the bear out and it just murders all of you? Does that make him like evil? Like, is he ungrateful and unthankful? No, he's just a bear. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what bears do. So stop thinking like a human and just think like a bear." Like, I don't know. I like that. And that's a great way to uncouple that kind of like fake reality that humans do when they anthropomorphize animals. You know what I mean? And as a biologist, you really have to kind of like become neutral and uncouple that like human morality, human ethos when you think of animals, because they have their own morality. They have their own existence, and it's unfathomable to us because they're dogs.
Right.
So anyway, well, without further ado, brother, if you've already given us a great intro for it, so if I may, I say let's just roll into those Truck Terriers.
Yep, the little busybody Truck Terriers. All right, everybody. Got Chad Reynolds here, and I'm with Shawn O'Neil, Mr. Truck Terrier. And we got a lot of stuff we're going to get into today. Shawn, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Chad. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm doing good myself. I'm glad you're here. I'm excited to hear about it. So, the folks know me fairly well, but let's tell them who you are a little bit, Shawn. Kind of, what's your background in dogs exactly?
I started on the East Coast I got involved with digging terriers, and I started digging with Jack Russells and Patterdales, and then I moved on to my own line of terriers that were called den terriers.
Oh, that's right. I've heard about those. Yeah.
Right. Little 8-pound dogs that could fit anywhere, go anywhere, and used for hunting woodchucks, fox, raccoons, possums in the ground. And then the natural progression is that, because the gun laws were so strict, back east, you couldn't carry a gun while doing this. We went into sight hounds with the particular lurchers that come from, that term comes from England.
Yeah.
And they're crossed up sight hounds. Basically, the original cross was a collie type cross and greyhound. And we used them to catch and dispatch game.
That sounds good.
Terriers, that the terriers bolted out.
Yeah, those terriers are really small. Like you said, 8 pounds. I don't want to let that get too far away from us. Like you can almost stuff those dogs in like a Pringles can, like a tube or something, right? I mean, that's tiny.
We used to carry them in our jackets all the time. But they didn't know they were 8 pounds, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right. Okay, so digging terriers and running lurchers, for catching, bolting bird game.
Bolton game. And then I did that and hunted all over the United States, and then moved into foxhounds for coyotes. And when we started hunting coyotes, that again progressed into stag hounds, sight hounds for the catch and kill coyotes. And then I did that for a while and hunted all over the United States. And then I got tired of the East Coast and moved west back in 2010.
Okay.
And I've been out here ever since, running coyotes. That's my main quarry.
Yeah, it's party. I gave it a shot for a little while, had some success, and then had to move back to an area doesn't quite support it. But I had a little bit of fun with it while I was in an area that supported it.
Yeah.
Well, all right. That's a hell of a background. Terriers, lurchers, sight hounds, and then on to the big stag hounds, is what you're with now. And then of course your truck terriers. The whole point of one of the main things I'm wanting to ask you about is your project there. So, I guess before we move on, I'm kind of excited to get going on it. But was there anything else? That's the meat and potatoes of where you came from.
Well, I also hunted a line of big game curs back east where I walk hunted bears, and I really loved that. That was I did that with those big game striker dogs from the Fry, particularly Daryl Fry.
Okay,
I had his dogs, and also some mountain curs from Tim Cope, and offsprings of those that did very well in with the bear hunting back there.
Okay, and then the first, were like blackmouth curs, or is that
no big game kemmer curs?
Okay, yep. All right.
Yeah.
Those are popular.
And they're called they're particularly very specifically bred for big game.
Mm-hmm.
The ones Daryl had a lot of lion dogs, but people also used his dogs for bear hunting and stuff. And so I bought a couple back west and had them shipped east and used them for walk hunting for bears. And that was like really some of the most fun I ever had.
Yeah. Everybody here in Shore and Jersey is a tree dog, that's for sure. So.
Yeah. You know what it's like to walk hunt for bears, right?
Oh, that's the best. That's the best. Getting to see the whole puzzle come together, and working out the kinks. You get to be there and help work them up the drainages, and I thoroughly enjoy hunting hunting from boots, you know?
Yep.
But all right. So without getting too far away, I'm excited. Let's talk about these truck terriers, man.
Okay.
What prompted you to even, to get into it? And I guess everything else, like what they are and how they're used and all that, I guess we'll follow. Those pieces all fall into place.
Okay.
But let's start with what started you down there.
Okay. When I moved west, Chad, and I really started heavily hunting coyotes out here from truck and horseback. There was guys that I'd known from the Midwest, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, that ran coyotes with hounds, and they always kept the terrier in the front of their truck, and they just called them truck terriers. And they were just a bigger type terrier, the bigger end of Patterdales, the 20, 25 pound. And they used them, if a coyote went in a culvert or something like that. And they weren't, I didn't really see them as being very effective because, anybody who's run coyotes, with a set, which is 3 dogs of stag hounds that, weigh anywhere from 75 to 95 pounds, sometimes, you get a coyote that, will manhandle some of your stag hounds. And, what's a 25-pound terrier going to do to a 35-pound coyote?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to breed a 35-pound dog that kind of sat in the truck, and I started going the cold bulldog route, where I tried to water down bulldogs using Patterdale blood, Lakeland blood, Jag blood, and get them into to basically, I didn't want to hunt a game dog, American Pit Bull Terrier. So I wanted some of those dogs that were watered down. They're a little bit easier to live with. I started doing that route because, we were putting a lot of coyotes in the ground. We chase them with the stags, and they go to ground in a rock pile, a culvert, or even a dirt hole, which, my whole background was digging terriers, which I really like. To dig a coyote with a terrier for a terrier guy is really top, besides a badger, is really top notch,
Yeah.
And I started going that route, and I had bought some of those big game Kemmers with me that I'd gotten out here in the West. I brought them from the east out here with me because I was going to continue to go bear hunting out here. And I'd had a litter and given a dog to a friend of mine, a cowboy that lived on a ranch. And he also had a pitter pat from my truck terrier breeding program. And he called me up one day and he goes, Shawn, that, this cur dog bred this, your terrier. And she had 9 puppies. And I said, that's impossible. She was an 18-pound female. He was 65 pounds.
Yeah.
And I went out there and looked at the litter, and I was like, they had, some brindle markings, and I said, they didn't look like a border collie, that's for sure. So he ended up getting one of those puppies to another friend of mine down in Utah. And this guy is a really underrated hell of a hand with dogs. And his dad is a big time dry ground lion hunter. So he has that in his background. And this guy took the dog and, called me up about 9 months later and said, hey, Shawn, I want to come up and go coyote hunting with you. And I said, yeah, sure. Come on up to the house. And the dog's name was Champ, and he brought Champ up, and he took Champ out of the truck, and I looked at him and I was like I'd been hit over the head with a hammer, like a big sledgehammer. I was like, a light bulb went off, an explosion, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, that's way better than what I'm doing.
Okay.
Because the dogs that I had, Chad, were really basically point and shoot type dogs, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, they didn't, I mean, they had some hunt to them and they had a little bit of nose, but nothing like this.
Right.
And he had you know, an extreme handle on this dog and everything. And he was pretty gritty too. And I said, that's the way to go. And I had another friend there that I consider a really good dog guy. And he said, he goes, that's the direction you want to go.
And what was the makeup of this dog again? This pup that you're...
It was, the female was a mixture, you know, second gen, third generation of Patterdale Pit Bull.
Yeah.
Some really nice dogs behind her, you know, some really, you know, some game dogs and really good game dogs that were tested out and Patterdales that were tested out, but they were just of the bigger size. And then the cur dog was off of Daryl Fry's striper line.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I got that right. And
yeah.
And what about, how old was this dog when you saw it?
I saw it at about 9 months old.
Okay.
It's still alive today.
Neat.
It's a really, really, really nice dog. You know, he's a little bit grouchy here and there, but you know, all those good dogs are. And he even put a nice litter of you know, put several nice litters on the ground. And I at that time I had procured a Jag Terrier of unknown breeding from a guy that bought the dog from a cat hunter in Oregon, that he used this dog to bust bobcats out of brush, that, you know, that thick coastal Oregon brush. And he had bought the dog home and didn't really think it out and left the dog with his wife. The dog got out of the backyard and went on a rampage.
How many chickens died?
It was more neighborhood cats and an old couple.
Oh boy.
And yeah, they kind of waded in to stop this dog from hurting their cat, and you know, either the cat or the dog scratched or bit them, and he ended up going to court, and they gave the dog a you know, get out of town or we're going to put it to sleep in 24 hours. And so he called me up and I got the dog, and she was like the best dog. You could breed her to a poodle and she would throw hunting dogs. So, yeah.
Oh, good.
And then the next step was I took that Champ dog and bred it to her. Her name was Mickey, and I bred her to Mickey. And that's what really started it off. We started getting a lot of nice dogs then. A lot of nice dogs.
All right. So that's why, you know, you kind of the niche you were trying to fill, you know, just a you know, a small terrier, well, not a small terrier, but like a large terrier, actually. They could ride up in the front of the truck, you know, and bail out of the side, you know, when the time was right, and flush from culvert or tall grass or work hot tracks, right?
Yeah. Yep. Well, that litter from Champ and Mickey, those pups were very fortunate and went into some good hands. And the pups from that litter were trailing hogs on the Arizona Strip, which is not easy.
No, it's not.
Tree and bears, tree and lions. You know, some were even you know, hog dogs. Some of them decoyed coyotes, and some of them, you know, I have one, and she's a great horseback dog, or sits in the truck, and if a coyote goes into a tight spot where those big running dogs can't get to, or the specials, or I have a line of dogs called specials that specials can't get to. She can fit right in and harass this coyote and either dispatch it in the ground or give it a really hard time and make the dog, the coyote bolt
right
to the bigger dogs.
That's awesome. Well, okay, so that's kind of that's the operation. And now, how many generations in are you with them now, you think?
I'm about maybe I've been breeding them for about 10 years now, since I got out here out west.
Right.
Recently, I had a litter of probably the listeners have probably never even heard of this type of dog, but it was a Donovan Pinscher.
Oh yeah.
That Donovan Pinscher bred to Mickey. And
well, here, break down the Donovans real quick, just so they don't understand what that is. I'm familiar with them. I've caught them for years in my bite work days, but they're a lot of fun. But go ahead and break those down real quick.
All right. They were developed out on the East Coast as a police, law enforcement, military, personal protection type dog, created by a dog guy named Dominic Donovan. And he wanted to produce what he called an American super dog. And they're basically patrol, protection, detection type dogs. And I've dealt with them for 25 years. I ran a commercial back east. I had a commercial guard dog business that I had over 200 dogs, so I dealt with them intensively out there in live bite situations, and I was very familiar with them. And then when I moved west, where I am now, I became a bail bondsman, and I decided I needed one, to come to work with me and deal with people that, sometimes got out of line.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, I love sharing this. I love sharing this story. I decoyed for PSA for many, many years, Protection Sport Association. And there's a handful of Donovans bouncing around in there. Dominic is actually, I've seen him at trials way back when,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He's been involved in Protection Sport Association. I've been on the trial field while he was in the audience kind of thing, with some of his dogs on the field. And then years after, he wasn't around anymore. But there's one dog in particular, and then he had a type he worked for that I was familiar with earlier on, and then it's kind of like all crosses that they kind of even out eventually, and you get a type, but this type almost looked a little more bullyish, had a little more pit or bulldog or pressa in it than herder,
right?
All of it was in there in his combination, but some of the earlier stuff, specifically this part of the line, was a massive dog, like a 70-pound, long-legged, elongated snout bulldog kind of dog. And the dog's name was Rowdy, and it was at a PSA trial. And my first interaction with Rowdy was when it was actually at a decoy seminar where we were teaching young handlers, new handlers, not necessarily young, but new handlers, how to catch a dog, how to do this and how to do that. And I was showing in the carjack scenario, because in PSA you actually have like a hidden sleeve on. And if you present the hidden sleeve, and the hidden sleeve isn't like a large jute that people are familiar with, it's something that you can put on underneath a hoodie. And if you knew exactly what you're looking for, you'd notice it. But if I didn't tell you, you probably wouldn't know if I just walk up and shook your hand, But if you present your sleeve to be bitten in the hidden sleeve with let's just think, you got your forearm out in front of you with your thumb pointed at the sky and your pinky pointed at the ground, your bones are stacked. I think it's a radius and ulna, your two bones in your forearm are stacked one above the other. When they bite, and they could actually compress those two bones. And then if you do it the right way, your pinky's away and your thumb's pointed to you, and then your two bones there are side by side. So I was, big hot shot Chad was there talking to a bunch of young handlers with the dog barking at me through the car window, and the handler had a hold of him. And I'm talking, I'm like, you darn sure don't want to ever turn your hand like this, with your thumb up in the air. You always want to have it to the side like this. And then I was like, if you put it with your thumb in the air, they'll grab a hold of your forearm. And this dog reached out and snatched me up when I was not ready for him. I think he might have pulled the leash a little hard or whatever, but he got a hold of me and proceeded to crunch my bones together. He didn't break it, but for about 2 months afterwards, I couldn't pick up a gallon of milk with that arm. It hurt so bad. The bones hurt so bad just from the pressure of like a gallon of milk. And that was through the hidden sleeve. So I was actively telling these people what would go wrong if the dog bit you. Not all dogs do that. Most dogs don't even have that kind of bite pressure, but it's still something you prepare for. I swear if he had just been a little more upset with me, he probably would have broke my arm through the sleeve. And I've never forgotten that. I've never felt that type of bite pressure. I've never been bit by some of the monster-headed dogs either, but that was unreal, and I'll never forget that. That's one of the dogs that I've, I don't know. If I were to get locked or trapped in a dark alley, I think Rowdy would be at the top of my list of dogs that I would never want to let that happen by. There's plenty of vicious Malinois that I don't know. I might not be able to whoop them, but I have a plan. If Rowdy was coming at me down a dark alley, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably just lay over and try and play dead and just hope for the best. That's something fierce. So anyway, I just had to throw that in there with the Donovan talk.
We could do we could do a whole nother podcast with all the live bites I had back in New Jersey. People breaking into places and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, it's not about Donovan. You got the Donovan blood in, and what did what were you doing with it? Did I lose you?
I had this dog Freddie. No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep, I can hear you. Yeah. Hello? So you had the Donovan dog.
Okay. So I was looking for a dog that I didn't have time to train, that came trained, and so I was given the opportunity to get this dog Freddie. And Freddie was a monster. He was like almost, Chad, like you said, the perfect blend of the new and the old type Donovans. He was a powerhouse, yet he was very fast. And in fact, his nickname was Fast Freddie.
Oh boy.
And he was trialed, but he also was a real dog. Like, he would bite you on the street. So I got him in, and it took me about a month to break him down to where I could put my hands on him. And I got him, and his drive, I'd been out of those dogs for, a couple of years, and it really refreshed my memory of their drive. And so one time I walked out onto my dog yard, and I looked at Mickey, my golden goose there, who was my foundation. This Jag turned out to be the foundation dog for these Truck Terriers. And we had breedings planned, and she turned up pregnant. And I was very upset to waste a breeding like that. And so I was like, what dog could have possibly bred her? I just couldn't figure it out. So day comes, she has the puppies. I look down at them, and they're all, there was no doubt that it was Freddie. And I said, oh, they're Freddie pups. And there was just something about them that at that day, they just really were, I don't know. They're very lively for young, day old pups and everything. So I docked the tails on them, and, because all my Truck Terriers, I docked the tails, and, I said, well, give them a shot. I'll see what happens. And by 5 or 6 weeks old, I knew that I was on to a whole nother level of Truck Terrier. And I mean, these dogs were, by the time they were 8 weeks old, they were, I mean, just off the chart with drive and, mouth and everything you wanted. The only thing, the big guess was would they transfer that onto fur, hunting. And Mickey had a ton of hunt in her. Mickey could trail, a mouse fart in the wind. She had a nose on her, so fingers crossed. And again, I've been lucky this way. I was very fortunate to put these puppies in capable hands, and I put some puppies in some capable hands, and they, one of them being Seth Simpson.
Oh yeah.
And this decoy dog stuff was really starting to blow up, and Seth was really out there hitting it hard. And I put some other pups in some professional hunters, big game hunters' hands, and the dogs just, really, really took off. And I mean, there's one up in northern Idaho now that could, the guy was offered some huge money for him on the mountain by a wealthy client, because the dog just, this little mutt could trail a bear and put him up a tree by himself, and nice bear. And he was really, really impressed. A 10-hour old track, off the trail camera. And he, if he's not careful, he's, going to probably end up getting really hurt or killed by a bear. So he wants to retire him. And but the other dogs, I have one with a government trapper that, just has nothing but good things to say. And then, of course, Seth Simpson, some other people. And one's down in Texas with a hog hunter down there. And they're just really, really, really nice dogs, not too bad to live with. And again, they saw my next step is Seth has taken these dogs and crossed them onto some of his old decoy blood, and I'm about to take some and breed them into the old champ line that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And take it from there.
Man, that's super interesting. They let's see. So how many dogs did you get out of the Donovan, out of that Donovan cross? And that was
I think there was, I'd have to look at my books, but I think there were 6 or 7 of them that made dogs. I mean, all of them worked to some degree.
Yeah.
There's another guy named Scott Hampton, I think in Oklahoma, that also decoys with one of them that, he's had good luck that he got the dog from me, but through Seth. And I've made 2 other crosses with Donovans now. Okay. I was lucky enough to get a Jag Terrier from you, old Bronson there, and I crossed Bronson onto a female Donovan that, as far as a bite dog, like a human, for bite work or human, protection dog. I think she would fail miserably. But she happened to grow up loose on my ranch, and she just displayed intense hunting. She just wanted to hunt all the time, constantly hunting, constantly using her nose. And I bred her to Bronson, and those pups are, I think, 6 months old now. And I think everyone in the litter has started. Everyone has started. In fact, I just got a video of somebody decoying last night, and that dog, every single one has, shown nothing but positive signs. How far they'll go, time will tell.
Yeah.
But at 6 months old, I couldn't be more happy than the whole litter. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of exciting to see the different stages and how it's kind of morphed through trial and error and accident, and here we are, and it keeps progressing. What's your goal? What's your thoughts for the future of them? Do you have a type and form, or are you letting form follow function specifically, or do you have something in mind?
I'm more of a form follow function guy.
Gotcha.
Type of guy. Somebody told me sometime, like, you should, if you own a hunting dog, it should, what did he say? If you own a hunting dog, it should be able to feed you and your family, because its life depends on it, or, something along those lines. And,
okay.
And I try to, we all feed commercial dog food for the most part, or do this or do that. And, we have a grocery store down the street, but, I try to really put myself back in, the early 1800s and, imagine myself there and imagine myself with this dog, take care of me. Would it, feed my family? Would it protect my cabin? Would it do this? Would it do that? And I try to really evaluate from that kind of standpoint. Dogs, of course, everybody likes a very hard dog, but again, for people who make a living with dogs, or their life their well-being depends on it, they don't last long, and stuff, and so I don't know. I'm really a form follows function type guy, but where I want to end up, Chad, is I'd like to have a multi-purpose terrier, anywhere from 30 to 45 pounds. That could, you could take it out and tree a bear or a lion. You could decoy coyotes with it. You could, pull a coon out from underneath, a rock pile if you wanted to. You could do, it would maybe bark at somebody who pulled up, down your driveway in the middle of the night. Just basically a multi-purpose type dog. I had a guy come up to me one time and tell me that, he goes, "Those dogs you're breeding are very much like the old cur dogs we used to have when I was a kid," and this guy was about 70 years old, and he remembered having cur dogs that were very much like the dogs that I'm breeding today. Yeah.
We had Bruce Swanson on, talking about on our Moving Critters episode, and we were just talking about all the things he's done, and he had high praise for his Truck Terrier that he got from you.
He has one. He's caught hogs with his on the Arizona Strip and treed bears and lions and everything with his. Yeah.
And he says it's a pretty good watchdog, will bark and raise heck, if the situation calls for it, and so he's sure happy with it. So what was your reasoning behind, you said earlier that you didn't want them much more than 35 so that they were, durable enough. They had enough body bone mass to deal with a coyote that wanted to get a hold of it for a second. But you said you peaked out there at about 45. Is there a reason you didn't want to go much heavier than that?
You start getting into dogs that are, most terriers, really, like, if you classified, I know Airedales are classified as a terrier, but they're not, it's probably going to upset people. They're not really terriers to me. You know what I mean? They're something else. You don't see many terriers that are over, 45 pounds that, game dogs are anywhere from 30, low 30s to the 40-pound dogs, Patterdales, are really, much smaller than that. And so all the type of dogs that I'm using except for the Donovans, are around that size. And I think if you go over 40 pounds, first of all, it definitely is going to have a harder time following a coyote to ground somewhere.
Yep.
I
agree with that.
And then, but, and if you go lower than 30 pounds, then, how do you expect it to keep up with a hard running bear or, something, keep up on, horseback or anything like that,
Real deep snow, powdery deep snow can kind of get in the way.
Yeah, big problem. Right, exactly.
And I've even heard that sometimes with the decoy guys, that if the dog's a little bit too big, the coyotes don't. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that the coyotes really don't want much to do with a dog that outweighs them by too much. It's kind of hard to decoy them in with that.
I don't really consider myself a decoy, coyote decoyer, but right. I do furnish dogs to a lot of. In fact, the majority of my dogs go to a lot of decoy guys now.
Mm-hmm. So they're going to tell you what they like,
Oh, they tell me straight out that this dogs, big dogs will just. I do study the coyote intensely. That is what I'm out here doing.
Right.
And thinking about 24/7. So, a coyote, not going to really withstand a lot of pressure, from 2 50-pound dogs,
mm-hmm.
running them down,
Yeah, they're just going to take off and go to the next county.
Yeah, they're going to push them. Mm-hmm. There's some guys that have some really aggressive coyotes. So they'll come in on a German Shepherd and, anything. But, they don't, but generally the minute they start getting schooled or getting pressured, coyotes don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
And they learn from a situation. So if you blow a stand and you teach them, next time it's going to be even harder to get them to come in.
Okay.
But
well, that all makes sense. Onward and upward, you got a few different avenues you're going for with your Truck Terriers, and
right.
And the future's wide open. It sounds like you got a bunch of plans. The project is going full force ahead. I guess just for the listeners that might be interested in this type of dog, like what type of situation, what hunting home would they fit into, and then maybe what type of environment do you think they might not do so well in? Do you think they have a classification? I know it's a what some people would call a very versatile dog, a dog that's supposed to be able to get into a little bit of everything, So I guess tell us that, like what.
Well, I've there's different degrees of dog people, dog men, dog women, and I've seen them bring dogs inside the house, and it's like the kiss of death. They do function well inside a house, especially if you know how to put a handle on a dog and you crate train it and teach it its boundaries. They make great pets inside the house. I have several that will come running inside the house and jump up on the couch and go to sleep, and stay there all night and not touch a thing or whatever. I have. But then there's other guys that they're not going to have dogs inside the house, and they put them out in a kennel situation or a chain situation, and they do fine out there. But the thing they're not going to do well in is if they're not used, like any working dog. If they're not getting their lungs and legs stretched and their brains activated, and you treat them. A lot of these staghound guys who raise these sight hounds, they raise them like veal. They keep them in a long run. They barely know their names, and it's they barely get them to load up into the truck. And
right.
I see a lot of guys collecting terriers like that now. That they just got a bunch of terriers that running around, and it's just a bad recipe for a disaster. They're going to start getting hard on livestock and hard on other dogs, and start causing a problem. Just like you're very familiar with the Jag Terrier, Chad. If left to just sitting in a kennel, it's going to start causing problems.
Boredom barking, fence fighting.
Oh yeah.
Bucket chewing.
Yeah.
They're going to do something.
Bronson, old Bronson. He gets out and he's literally, walked on foot 7-8 miles a couple times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that keeps him barely manageable,
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise he's going to get the e-collar and some stiff words from me because he likes to bark. Yep. But again, he's there to, I should have him on some coyotes in the next week coming up and really find out, I'm going to check his oil pretty soon.
Right.
So he's ready to go.
Well, we look forward to hearing about that. That should be good.
Yep.
Well, okay. So, and then, so give us a rundown, on what kind of game folks would work with them, like these dogs. Obviously, flushing coyotes from tight spots, culvert work, like the hounds bay up a coon under the floorboards. It might not be able to get, like all your tiny Jack Russells or Yags or anything, but if it could stick its head in there, it's going to draw it for you. What else?
Basically ranch and farm, pest control, keeping stuff off the livestock. People use them for that. Again, I've had people use them for bear hunting. People use them for lion hunting. People use them for, catching coons at night, coon hunting. Are they coon dogs? No. Are they bear dogs? No. But it's like they can do a lot of stuff from the dogs that I've seen and had tested and that I've bred.
Mm-hmm.
But, they're not going to outperform a top-notch coon dog at night on a tree or anything like that. But if you're looking for a dog that, you want to decoy coyotes with, you want to go out with your buddies, looking for coons at night. If you have a buddy who's a bear hunter and you want to throw your dog in with him, these are the type of dogs that, that I'm breeding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, the people, I see a lot of people breeding them now, or breeding, they don't call them Truck Terriers. They call them, I don't know what they call them, but they're basically, it's the same formula.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of litters being bred now by guys decoying and, basically breeding decoy dogs,
Right.
Yeah.
And trying to find, 35 to 45 pound dog with a good handle, that's kind of rough and ready, got some grit to him and a nice nose, and not bad to look at, and something that can kind of toss in the seat next to you in the console in between you and your partner, your buddy or whatever, and well, there you go, and just pretty much game for a little bit of everything. So that sounds neat, man. That sounds like a plan. Well, I mean, is there anything else on those that you wanted to share with us? It sounds exciting. I've seen them hunted. I've heard of, but some friends hunting them, and everybody has put hands on them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward, of course, to the future to see what. There's a core group of us now that are breeding them and have similar blooded dogs, and that come from the similar lines. And as they get more popular, I hope that they fall into the right hands, people that use them, and we get more feedback about like what's being produced and how good they're doing and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to the future and to see what people like, Seth Simpson's, and there's a couple guys out in South Dakota and guys down in Utah and Nevada that are breeding them and using them and really see what they can do, and maybe somebody can, I'm getting a little weary of breeding puppies, and because it's not a money thing at all, you know, it's a great expense, but the joy of putting a nice puppy in somebody's hands and see it, sometimes even despite them succeed and become really nice dogs is I don't know. There's not a price you can put on that.
I agree.
I really enjoy that.
It's extremely satisfying. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Chad, that was awesome, dude. And guys, again, it sounded like it kind of just cut away while they were chatting. It's because it keeps going. It's on the Patreon page. Go check it out. But Chad, thanks.
And there's some cool stuff too. That like, let's see the his specials, which are like Foxhound, Sighthound crosses,
right?
And the Staghounds, and then the Den Terriers is really cool too. The little like 8-pound tiny little earth dogs. They aren't gonna.
Yes,
and not a badger dog by any measure, but like none of mine can get into a gopher hole.
I probably think they are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But those are really cool. There's a lot more to it, but specifically the Truck Terriers.
The Truck Terriers sound really cool, but I was really intrigued by the Den Terriers because I would like to see little midge guys working. You know what I mean? Like that's
tiny,
so cool.
Tiny. I mean, it feels like you're picking up a can of Pringles, like to handle them right. They're like that small. They're small, so small. And this is a hunting dog. Yeah, it is. Watch it right down the hole, and they just disappear. So they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool.
I really enjoyed it, man. I I learned what spanning is from Nate Valley, and he kind of told me about what the ideal size for a Jack Russell's, rib cage to get down in there and still have room to breathe. But those Den Terriers are like half the size of that. Yeah. I mean, like they're so tiny.
Yeah, you can span them pretty easy.
Anyway, the Den Terrier talk is on the Patreon page, you guys. And so, the Truck Terriers, what a versatile little animal. And I've heard about them quite a bit from social media. So they're already kind of moving around, and people love them. So terriers, if I had more desire to do something else than chase hares, I think I would love to get into ferrets and terriers, dude. How fun would that be?
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. It's weird that certain states like don't allow you to release the ferrets though, depending on where you are. I think I don't want to misspeak, but I know there are some states where like you can own a ferret.
Are. No, you're right.
You can't let it go to go hunt, like they do over in
Well, New Mexico has like 5 laws, so we're fine.
Yeah, there you go. None of them involved.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, I want to wrap this segment up, brother. We've been going good, and you guys all mixed up as a labor of love for me and Chad. I have a great time producing this show, and our challenge actually is keeping it short. It's a long show, but it's easy to go a long time. This show could have been 4 hours if we used all our material. So that's a great thing for the Patreon page. And also, you guys, we just love talking to you guys and seeing everybody and producing this content. So I'm going to wrap this up quickly. Chad, tell me your dream hunt with dogs. If you had unlimited resources and you could just wave a magic wand and be there and in the group as if you were one of the boys for 20 years, what do you want to do right now?
Oh, gosh. It's really hard because I've traveled around a little bit and done a bunch of different things. And I don't even need to go through them, but I don't know. Probably do something.
I just put you on the spot hardcore.
Oh, big time, man. But probably do some of the things we do now just in a different environment. And one of my favorite things to do is evaluate my dog's strengths and weaknesses. They aren't perfect. I'm proud of my dogs, as proud as a guy can be, but they have strengths and weaknesses. Some of their strengths here would give them weaknesses somewhere else. So I'd probably like to, do the same thing, like pack up my dogs and take them up to the, like where you did with British Columbia and the Run of Links, or take them to the East Coast and run one of their bear over there, or I don't know, to get off that topic a little bit, maybe I love hunting from horseback. Absolutely love it. I've done it for the hogs, when I was younger and everything, and I'm just starting to get back into it now. But I've always wanted to do, that fox thing, where you're chasing the actual.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, because it's cool to actually run.
That would be
You always
awesome.
get to watch them out there. But in hog hunting, a lot of times it happens way off in the bushes, and it's really hard to keep up. But there are times when, somebody will strike way down the road, and all your dogs jump out of the bushes and get on like a dirt track, and then run down the road to get a little closer. And during that, I get
hold up, brother. Hold up. I think I just dropped out a little bit. So, did you see me drop?
I did, but it's still in. It says recording. Huh. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, in that case, go ahead.
Yeah. So they jump out of the bushes and then run down the 2-track, and while you're on horseback, you can run with them for a little while. So I've only got like fleeting glimpses, of like that adrenaline rush of, you're right on the horse and you're pumping, you're going, and then there's a dog to your left that's, at full cry, and then a dog to your right that's screaming, and one in front of you. You're in him. You're with them, and I don't know. Like I said, I've only gotten, fleeting little pieces of it, but I've never actually got to prolong the chase for a while. And I don't know. I might be able to geek out with that. So that or some other type of earth game. I haven't ever done how I'm going to mangle this. Coati kind of like, you got them down there.
Are they earth game?
Well, they're in the trees, but it's considered terrier game, I imagine.
I've treed a coati before.
Have you?
I have.
I have not. I've never even seen one.
I treat it. No dog required.
Was it a chop park, or like, do you have?
I just bum rushed him, yelling like some kind of meth head, and just. Yeah, I was in the middle of the Gila wilderness, actually.
Really?
And apparently, sometimes males will go north they'll follow those riparian corridors north. And we were hunting, and I looked up the creek, and I was like, whoa, that's a coati. And I just ran at it at like full speed, like yelling and waving my arms. And that sucker treed up an aspen tree. And I didn't have a good phone camera. I had like a 1 megapixel crappy phone, and I couldn't get a good picture of it. It was just like a little red pixelated blur.
Yeah.
But yep, I treed one. So
they're cool critters. And like my state, I don't have them. But I do know they have them south. And so I don't even know if you can tree them legally. And if that's the case, then of course I'll come off of them. But I just know they're down there, and they're like badger. I love the hunt badger. I absolutely love that. So
they're tough, dude.
They're like a different flavor. Oh yeah. But you gotta catch them all, right? I get, so that's, I guess I can't put it down to one.
So you have multiple things.
Oh, I got a bunch.
Yeah, that's true.
I gotta do, man. I can't push the earth dogs out or the terriers, and I know what I want to do. Right, hounds. So I could give you one for each, but if I had to just wrap it up real quick, those are what I dream about. I daydream about now.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's impossible to pin it down to one thing, but I'm going to be straight up. I think I talked to Scott Allen. You guys remember Scott Allen's talk? He's on the Patreon page, and also I aired him on how to take better pictures of our hounds hunting. And he talked about Spain in the Patreon page. You guys, I'm not joking. My mind was running wild in Spain while he was talking. It was like I was there with him. I can't stop thinking about that. If you guys, man, that was probably one of the best tailgate talks. Man, I was a guest on that show. I felt like Scott. He's such a natural behind the mic. He just took it away, and he took us to Spain. And the way they hunt there, you guys, holy smokes, that is crazy. It's crazy to imagine that. So we got weird technical issues, you guys, so we're going to roll. But hey, thanks you guys for tuning in to All Mixed Up this month. We really appreciate it. Chad, thank you for joining me, brother. You've been a great addition to the team, and I'm super glad you're here, man. So thank you guys, and we'll be seeing you next month. Yep. You follow your hounds, I'll follow mine. Chad, that's not true. How are we finishing up our episode? I had it written down.
Hunt them hard and treat them like heroes.
Boom. That's how we finish it. Chris, your outro is lame compared to ours. Just kidding, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. We appreciate every one of you, and we'll see you next month, and we'll see you next week on the Patreon page. Talk to everyone later. See ya.